To somebody that wants to go full-time, okay? Everybody good with that? All right, so listen, we're going to go through a ton of stuff tonight. It's imperative that you take notes. If I were you, I would record it so you could listen to it a few times, okay? So here it is, full-time process. I want to start with some thinking. You can't be afraid to ask people for their very best, okay? You can't be afraid to ask your people for their very best, to make tough commitments, to have a standard of excellence, because why? Because your people will eventually live up to the expectations you put on them. I expect you to win. I expect you to show up. I expect you to give your all. And if you don't, I am a pro at making you feel real uncomfortable. Right, Rebecca?
Yep.
Right? Okay? Listen. That's my deal, right? I expect you to win. I expect you to give your best. Why? I gave my best, and I know that this is worth it, and it demands your best. And don't you dare treat this like a garage sale and then go back to your job and tell people how Prime America didn't work for you. Okay? It's not on trial here. You're on trial, right? Okay? And you got to go to work, and we expect your very best, and we expect you to be committed. And listen, you're going to work 40, 50 hours a week for a job that you don't own. You should be coming into full-time expecting to do that and then some for your own last name, right? Because here you're starting a business. There you're playing with other people's money. Here, there ain't no money till you get to work. You understand that? And so I expect your best. I expect you to take what you're doing here tonight and go do something with it. Okay? Go do something with it. So there's 4 pieces to this process. I'm going to show you some fantastic artwork. You're going to realize real quickly why I was not an art major. Okay? But there's 4 parts that you need to be understanding about being full-time, staying full-time, succeeding full-time. Okay? The first is the numbers. You've got to understand the numbers, okay, and how they apply to you and have a process to work that. The next is the skills, okay? Most people in our business and in most things in life overestimate their skill set. You think you are better than you really are. You're not yet a master, okay? And if you want to succeed here long range and make big money, you must master the skills. What skills? The 8 fundamentals. What are the 8 fundamentals? Right? How many of you, by show of hands, could name the 8 fundamentals in order right now? Oh my God! Now stop. Look, but why not in order? Why? Because they are in order for a reason, right? They're in the order in which you need them. Do you understand that? So look, you don't even know what they are in what order. Should you be expecting to make big money? No. Right? Some of your brains just blew up right here. Like, dang, I thought I was going to make $300,000 this year. I can't even name, let alone do, I can't even name the 8 fundamentals on which I'm going to build my business. Right? Isn't that a little crazy? Right? So that's called delusion. That's where we expect a much greater result than we're capable of getting with our very, very minimal skill set. Everybody understand that? The good news is your skill set is developable 100% on your timetable. You want to do it fast? You can do it fast. You want to take forever or never at all? You can take forever or never at all. It's up to you by how much you're going to be a student of the business. Number 3 is consistency. This is where many, many people who go full-time fail. Okay? Is they're told what to do every day of their life since 5 years old. When to get up, when to go to school, what to wear, when you eat, right? Okay? You're told where to be. You go to college, then you get a job where you're told where to be, when to be there. And all of a sudden, you got all the freedom in the world, right? You don't have to be anywhere you don't want to be when you go full-time in Primerica. And what you realize is people think, well, I don't have a boss when I'm full-time in Primerica. That's not true. You shift the responsibility in your life from a boss, and you become the boss. And the truth is, most of us are not very good at bossing ourselves around, right? We let ourselves off the hook. We're real tough on others and real easy on ourselves, and that's a formula for failure, right? We got to be easy on others and tough on ourselves. Everybody follow that? So your consistency, and then number 4 is always holding on to the dream. Always holding on to the dream, because there's 4 stages of pay in Primerica, right? Stage 1 is no pay. That's when you're field training, you're not licensed. Stage 2 is low pay. That's when you're licensed, but you're at a negative contract. What does that mean? You're below RVP. You're leaving money on the table, right? You're going out there, and you're working for you and your RVP instead of just you, right? Okay? There's a drive-by mowing right there. I've never seen those guys mow on a Tuesday night. They must have had a holiday or something. Lawnmower's holiday. Okay, so listen, number 3 is paid what you're worth, which is an RVP. Now you're not leaving money on the table. Stage 4 is way overpaid for what you do. That's when you have a hierarchy. And you can't ever forget number 4 when you're in 1, 2, and 3. Right? Does that make sense? And see, that's normal that people forget that because they just go to a job where they waste away and watch people constantly stay in stage 1, 2, or 3. Right? And so they never have the vision to do 4. Okay, so let's talk about the franchised business system. If you've ever read the book, The E-Myth by Michael Gerber, a fantastic business book, and he talks about business failure statistics. So how many of you are aware you are in your own business? Well, more people than could name the 8 fundamentals, so that's good, right? But we're doing something right. At least you're aware. You are. Some of you be like, when's he going to talk about the health insurance benefits again? I'm still waiting on those, right? Okay. So you're in your own business, right? Okay. Write down these stats. 80% of small businesses fail in the first 5 years. Okay. 80% of the remaining businesses that made it past 5 years fail in the next 5 years. So if you're any good at math, that's 4 out of 100 businesses that are started in 10 years are still running. 4% chance of success. That is small. That's not in Primerica. That's in all business. You understand that? Okay? There's one caveat to that, and that's the franchise business system. Okay? 75% within 5 years are still in business. And if they make it past 5 years, 90% of those are still in business at year 10. Okay, so 65% of franchises make it 10 years, 4% of non-franchises make it 10 years. Why? What's the difference? And the answer is in the word right here, the system. What do non-franchise businesses lack that franchise businesses have? And that is a system by which people have previously succeeded, documented, and then taught to you so that you're not making your own system, which 96% of the time doesn't work. Do you understand that? And so you need to view our business as a franchise system because it is, especially in our hierarchy, right? Success leaves clues. There's reasons why we've done what we've done in such a short amount of time, and that's because of our system and our process, okay? So you need to follow the system. Not make your own system, right? Okay? Follow the system, and we're going to go through what it is. So here's the system. Okay? I'm going to show you here. I want you to think of it as a big circle in which the whole thing operates. So everything you need to do as a full-timer operates inside of this sphere, okay? And inside of that sphere is a core, okay, and some other spheres. Everybody following that? What is the main sphere if you look out here? The main sphere is the process itself, okay? What's the process itself? As a full-timer, write this down. You have a Monday morning in-person meeting. And, that's the outside one. This is the process itself. You have a Monday morning full-time meeting. Unless you live more than 90 minutes away each way, you show up to that. If you're more than 90 minutes away, you show up live on a Zoom call, okay? Tuesday through Friday, from 8:30 in the morning till 9, we do a full-timers call. So Monday through Friday as a full-timer, you're gonna be on a call or at a meeting, right? Does this make sense? Okay. We have the full-timers docs. This is our accountability system and tracker, right? Which provides the accountability. I want you to view this process as the thing in which all the other things live. If you stop going on the full-timers calls, it's just a matter of time before you cease being a full-timer, right? Because you're missing the accountability and the camaraderie and the entire process that exists inside of this, you don't get because you're not a part of the process. Does that make sense? The number one way I see full-timers fail is they go full-time, but they're not plugged into the process. They think, well, I don't need to be there today. I've got something else. Now watch this. What if you have an appointment during your conference call? Where should you be?
Conference call.
Why? Well, that's the process. See, making a sale isn't part of the process to get and stay full-time, right? Why? Because if everybody just went and made sales, nobody would be in the process. And the process would lose its ability to teach people how to run what? A process, a system. Right? You're not just in the system, but you're going to teach the system to others, right? Does that make sense? Okay, you can't do that as a traveling salesman, right? Well, we're in this business to make money, and you ain't going to make very much ditching out on the process to try to make money, because you teach that to your people, and then nobody follows any sort of system, and we know when there's no business system, they have a what? 96% failure rate. Is that what you want in your business?
No.
Or do you want a 65, 70% success rate? Which one? The only difference is the system and the process. Okay? Within that process, think about that like the glue. If you're in that process, you can move into more inner things, okay? So I want you to look at the numbers is that kind of center ring. Once you're in the process, you say, all right, I'm committed to the meetings and the conference calls, right? And doing accountability on a daily basis. Now we can start to focus on the numbers of the business. We're going to go through those, okay? And at the core is the what? Is the dream. Is the dream. That's why you are doing this full time. Write this down. This is the hardest 50 grand you're ever going to make. You want 50 grand? Quit. Do something else. Save yourself the trouble. It's tough. Why? Because you're not very good. There's a lot of things you've got to overcome, and you're probably going to make most of that yourself, right? This is the easiest 50 grand a month you'll ever make in your life, right? Because once you get it going, it operates completely independent of you. So the dream is what you're striving for. If all your dream is to be middle class, average, and ordinary, then this is not the right vehicle for you, right? Does that make sense? So you got to have a dream about what you're fighting for. And this is all done and kept together through consistency. Okay, does everybody follow that? Okay. So, think about again the process, the calls, the meeting is the glue that keeps everything together, okay? It keeps you in the system long enough for you to figure out the system and have the system give you an output of results, right? You understand that? Okay? And consistency is a key in that. If you invest money in the stock market, you look for compound interest, interest upon interest. Well, what happens if you take money out of the stock market? Does it keep growing?
No.
Okay? So for every day it's out, nothing's happening. And that's the same with your compounding effort in the business. For every day you're out, that's not something that you're growing and getting better at, right? Hector Lamarck always said, for every day early on that you don't do what you should be doing with consistency, you add 4 days of having to continue doing that to the end. Everybody understand that? So when you take a day off in the grind, right? Listen, this is your business. This isn't a job. You figure that out? Job is what? Work 5 days, take 2 days off, own nothing, be nothing, have nothing, and struggle your entire life financially. That's what 5 days gets you. Does anybody have any question about that? Well, if you don't want that, then you better be expecting to put in more than those 5. Right? Am I right about it?
Yeah.
Okay, did I say something? You got to understand, but people think, oh, now I'm full-time. I do whatever I want. You won't be full-time for long, right? Okay? Right? You just didn't want a job. You didn't want to win. You just didn't want a job. Do you see the difference? Okay? So you got to have that consistent mindset and understand every time you miss a conference call as a full-timer, that added 4 days onto the end of when you're going to be done building. Right? Every day you didn't do your docs. Every day you went on vacation. In the beginning, listen, I didn't take vacation. Some of you are pros. Man, you're like, man, woo! I just lost South Beach. Time for a vacation. Right? Like, man, woo! I didn't hit my goal last month. I worked really hard not hitting it. Right? Time for a vacation. Listen, I didn't take any trips until I was making $250,000 a year. And now I can take a trip every day of my dadgum life, and it won't matter. They'll pay me $1 million a year residually, whether I ever show up here again or not. Stop and think about what I just told you. You can travel or you can travel. You understand the difference? Right? You can have vacation or life is a vacation. It's your choice. Will you give up the good for the great? It's the consistency, right? Consistency. The docs, the Google Docs, are your franchise business system. Okay? And I'm going to go online. I'm actually going to show you these in a second. Okay? These are your franchise business system. This is the truth teller. This is where the numbers tell your story, okay? And they are the speed at which your skill is developed. So I'm going to show you this. So I want you to think about 3 numbers here. Rolling 7, I'm going to define them. Complete rate, close rate. Our entire business can be boiled down to 3 moving parts. Only 3. There are only 3 moving parts in the entire business. The rest is static or relatively static. Leadership development, is that static? Not really, but it's also not instantaneous, right? That's a process. It moves little by little. These are the key components to which your business works. I'm going to show you this. I'm going to actually go online and show you on the docs. So here's your rolling 7 and why it's important. Your rolling 7 is the amount of appointments you are scheduled to be what? On in the when? The next 7 days. So this is the metric by which we track that is totally proprietary to our hierarchy. Nobody else tracks this. Everybody else looks at what happened. The problem with looking at what happened is it already happened. You already lost by the time you figured out you lost. We look forward and backwards. Everybody understand? Okay? So I'm going to give you an example of how to calculate a rolling 7. You say, well, I'm not full-time. You should be doing this every single day from now forward, preparing to be full-time. Right? You want to be a full-timer? Start acting like one now. Okay? Start developing the habits. Any question on what a rolling 7 appointment is? Okay? This is not appointments set by your guy that's capable of running his own appointments. Everybody understand that? This is appointments you set or your guy set that you need to be on. Okay? Everybody follow? So here's my $1,000,000 wisdom on how to account for this. This is exactly the process by which I used every day and still use today to account for my rolling 7. You should draw this. A lot of staring. You should be drawing, not staring, okay? So here's how I account for this. I go to my calendar. Today is what day? Tuesday. So this morning, in my rolling 7, I would have which days? Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Do you understand? 7 days forward from whatever day you're on. Do y'all have fingers? Yes. Okay, fantastic. You can't screw this up. Okay? Tomorrow is what? Wednesday. So you would count tomorrow what days? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Here's an easy trick. Take the day of the week and subtract 1 and go all the way through next week. And that's, right? If you're on Thursday, you count all the way to next Wednesday. No, not Thursday. That would not be -1. That would be the same day. Right? If you're on Friday, it would be Friday to Thursday. If you're on Saturday, it would be Saturday to Friday. Okay? Everybody following? Yes. Any questions? Fantastic. So here's what I do. I open my calendar and say, all right, today's Tuesday, and I just write down personally set, team set. And I have 4 categories. Is it a recruit appointment, a kitchen table, a steam, which is a referral appointment, right? Or a carry back to close. I've already been there, I didn't close, I'm going back to close. That's why I'm coming. Okay, for my team, I don't drill down as much because I don't necessarily know as much about it. Is it a recruit or a KT? What is it? And what do I do on Tuesday? I look, I say, oh, I got a 12 recruit, so I make a hash mark under. Everybody following this? So these numbers are not necessarily, they don't mean anything. I'm just showing you an example of what it would look like. And I would go day by day, and I would hash mark them all out, right? And then I enter the data in the docs themselves. Okay, everybody following that? Okay. Well, it depends. What's an F&A? Is it? Are you going back to close? You closed it already? Boom. Steam. If there's not an opportunity to close life or recruit, I'm going to count it there. And listen, we don't have enough time today, but I could get into a mad scientist talk about how I can look at these things and figure out where you're going to be, right? If all your appointments are here and you don't have any life, business, or recruits, you're going to be running around all week doing nothing productive, right? Okay? If you're all recruiting but no kitchen tables, you might recruit somebody, but you ain't going to make a nickel this week. Because you got to recruit them, then you got to get them into the field before you're going to turn that into premium, right? So we can look at these numbers and see based on where you're heavy and where you're light, we can kind of tell what's going to happen to you in the future, right? Okay? Well, that's a huge tool if you want to run a business, is to be able to tell what's going to happen before it happens, right? Would you all agree with that? Like, hey, I'm going to go bankrupt. That would be good to know now so that you could what? Change, right? Not just have it happen, but do something about it. If you learn this process and follow the process, you are guaranteed to succeed. This is bumper bowling in business, right, okay? You can't get too far outside. The only way you throw a gutter is you throw it over the bumper, right, which is getting off the process. Any questions on this? Okay. So, let's talk about the 3 variables, right, which is rolling 7, complete rate, close rate, right? Or the amount set, the amount completed, and the amount closed. These are the only things that change in our business, okay? And they offer insight into specific areas of improvement. How many of you would say you're not getting the results you'd like to have in our business, okay? Why? Which one are you weak at? And why do you think that? What data do you have to prove it? Because there's only 3 things you can be bad at. Right? There's really nothing else you can be bad at that's going to affect you long range besides I don't set enough appointments. I set enough appointments, but I don't get on the ones I set. Or I get on, but I just can't close a door if my life depends on it. Yeah. Right, okay? Only one of those 3 things is happening here in the business. Everybody understand that? Okay? And so we track all of them on the docs. We track all of them on the docs. So I'm going to give you some baseline numbers that you need to be working off of, okay? And you can use this to do really anything, okay? So as a full-timer, you should have 20 somethings set a week. In a rolling 7, you should always have 20 things you're booked to be on, okay? As a full-timer, the cumulative totals, we don't make it up and say, this is a target, this just is what it is. As a full-timer conglomerate, you're gonna get on about 45% of the appointments that you set. Some people are much better than others, some people are worse than others, but that's the statistical average, okay? Why is that important? Well, if you set 20 and you only get on 10%, your outcome's gonna be a lot different than the same guy who set 20 who gets on 80%. Why? You have more chances. You understand? When you begin to think of our business as a business and as a business person, you de-emotionalize the outcome. Like, I'm just not very good at this. I don't know if God wants me to do this. I don't know, maybe I'm not good. You don't get into that weird, bizarre self-talk. You say, hey, my appointments don't keep. I have a deficiency in this area, and now I can go and seek out help in that area instead of every area, right? Like, what do I need to get better at? I don't know, so I'm just going to listen to every audio in the world, right? Okay, and you listen to 18 audios, you're motivated as heck, but about what you do not know, right? Okay? You're like, I'm fired up about Primerica, but I still don't know anything about how to win because I didn't point my practice. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, so 45% are going to complete, and about 42% are going to close. Statistically. So let's just round these down to pretend you are lower than average. So you are below an average full-timer, and let's just call them 40 and 40. You complete 40, you close 40. Okay? So literally you can reverse engineer your income to the dollar here. Right? Okay, and we're not going to go into a ton of how to do that, but I want you to see, if you wanted to make 10 grand in a month, okay, and you made $500 a sale, hypothetically, how many sales would you have to make? 20, right? Okay, well, to make 20 sales, based on a 40% complete rate, you would have had to have been on 50 appointments for the month. Well, to get on 50, right, at 40% complete rate, you got to set about 120 for the month. Everybody understand that? Well, that'd be 30 a week. Well, that's how many a day? Well, that means today I need to do what? Do you understand that? You can take your results, whatever result you want, personally. Not talking about overriding your team. I'm talking about you choose an income you want and decide exactly how to get it and show yourself what you need to do today and tomorrow and the next day to make your numbers work out. And by the way, it's just a math problem. You're not better than the numbers. Your numbers are your numbers. They can only get better. They can't really get worse. They're as bad as they're going to get right now, because you're as bad as you're going to get right now. Okay? Right? So you need to be thinking about those three variables, and that's what the docs help you do. They let you see, is your activity suitable? If it is, great. Are you getting on that activity? If no, where should you go? Post-closing, right? Go get some audios on post-closing. Drill with a teammate. Go to your upline, right? I'm getting on them, but people just aren't saying yes. Well, what are you bad at? Closing, overcoming objections. So what do? Get an audio on closing and overcoming objections. You role play with a teammate. Listen, there's no problem you have in this business that you cannot solve yourself by having the right data. But most people don't know where to start, right? They just have a feeling. I just have a feeling that I'm not good at this. Well, great. How do I help you with that? You're a winner. Go get it. Okay? So this is one of my favorite quotes. It says, to those who are out there in the trenches, these are your glory days. Right? Even though you might not feel like it, these are the moments you're going to be most proud of. When you make a decision to skill up, take your game up to another level, right? Okay? And before we go here, I'm going to go on my phone, because I have a little app here saved. I couldn't tell you for the life of me what my password is. Okay?
Fingerprint. That's my password.
Okay, so this is our doc system. It's docs.prisystem.com. You can't get on it without going full-time and having an email and an admin. You enter it, but I'm going to show you so you can see. So here's what I do. Face. It recognized me. Fantastic. Okay. So Gabrielle, right? You've already entered your docs for today, so that's good. Okay. So you can actually see her. How many does she have set for the next 7 days? 16. Up from 12 the day before. So these docs, Aristida Abraham built this, and these are the coolest dang things in the world. So let me go see. I know there's a way I can go and look at this. Let's go to the history so you can see a date. Let's go pick a date. So let's look at April. There we go. So this is May 1st. We can look up every day in history and see exactly what was happening, who was where, what they were doing. Okay? So by the way, let me read you some names. I just want you to think, have I heard these names in this organization? Tara Green, yes. Debbie Rio, yes. Jordan Gallagher, yes. Jason Casey Jones, yes. Curtis Miller, yes. Lisa Dwyer, yes. Shane Douglas, yes. Dave Braley. Yes. By the way, these are also the top activity leaders that day. Right? Okay? So let's take a look at Tara. We can drill down on her. She had how many set for the week? 56, up from 50 the day before. Okay, what'd you say, buddy? Okay, so I should be able to go and tap her name and go in and look at everything. So now I can see, drill down exactly what everything is here. So I can see her numbers, her goal, the amount of codes she has, right? And so if you look at this, in that count of 56, how many were personal recruits? 14. How many were initial kitchen tables? 7. Little low compared to the recruiting. How many were steam? 8. How many carrybacks? 7. High on recruiting, a little bit low on the premium side, right? How do I know? Well, she's got twice as many recruiting appointments as other stuff. Does that mean you shouldn't do as many recruiting appointments? No. What does it mean? You should look for the other stuff, right? Team recruits, 7. Team KTs, 13. So her people that she's training are setting KTs pretty well, but not so hot on the recruiting. In my opinion, those numbers should be switched. You need to recruit under your people to lock them in, right, and worry about premium as it comes, and then you need to be writing a lot of premium yourself and recruiting your clients. Everybody understand that? Yeah. Okay? So now here's what's going to happen. Let me show you how this works, right? So it says she's up from 52 the day before. And every day when you go and fill out your docs, it says appointments since. And that's the beginning of the month. And every day, whatever you had the day before, you just add to that. So at the end of that month, right, of April, she had set how many for the month? 127. Which is how much per week? 36. So let's go and analyze this. She's at 56 right now, but only averaged 36 normally, which means in order for that to be true, there must have been a few weeks where that activity was what? Lower. So we see some violation of the principle of consistency there. Right? Does that make sense? When our activities go like this, what do our results do? Because they follow. Right? Does that make sense? I mean, wait a second. If I'm all over the map, my results are going to be all over the map? Yes! That's exactly what I just told you. Okay? Now watch. Completed appointments was only how many? 36. Right? So this shows a completion ratio of what? Which went which way? Down. So that trend, right? Where does that show? The average is how much? 45. Her completion rate is, which is an area for improvement. Right? Now her close rate went up, but is also lower than average. So that's an inefficient business right there. A lot of front end effort for the results coming out of the back end of it. You understand? Right? Now take a look at those numbers. Let's just use that same number. Who's got a calculator? You can help me out here. Okay? All right. So let's take the 127 total set and let's move the complete rate to 40. So 127 times 0.4 is how many? 50. So if her complete rate was just average, a little below average, she'd have gotten on 50 instead of 36. If the close rate was 40 on 50, how many transactions would that be? Be 20.
20.
Instead of how many? 5 recruits, 6 sales, personal. 11. She'd have doubled her personal results off the same amount of effort. Did y'all just see that?
Yeah.
To have some pointed progress. You follow? This is the business franchise system. Right? It's like teaching kids how to run the fryer at McDonald's. This is your fry machine, guys. That's your fry machine. You learn how to operate it. You make whatever fries you want. Big fries, small fries, tasty fries, cold fries, warm fries, salted fries, cheese fries. You make any fry you want if you learn the fryer. Everybody understand that? Y'all get it? Okay. So literally, I'll get to that question in a second. So literally, this process is so simple. It says carrybacks and has a blank. And then all you do is type in the number from, remember that hash mark thing I showed you? All you do is fill it, and then it does all the thinking for you. You don't got to be a mathematician, figure out rates and close. You just fill in the blanks. And then the tool does the work for you about what you need to do and where you need improvement on. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you see that if you stayed in that process, used it every day, and took the data and made said improvements that the data recommended, that you would get better than you are now? Does everybody see that? If you did that consistently, do you see how you would constantly improve over time and build people?
Yes.
Right? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Now, once you get some people that are committed and you taught that to them, what would happen to those people? They would also get better. In which case, you're getting better, your people are getting better. What happens to all your numbers? They, what? Grow. So if you see people that are not growing, okay, guys, listen, this is full-timers and people who want to be full-time, right? Okay? Yeah. You watch people that aren't growing, they're not following the system. I don't care what they tell you. It's right here. This is the truth teller. Remember? This is happening at home. Truth teller, right? Well, this is truth. My upline doesn't train me. Truth teller. Truth teller, right? You don't need an upline to win in our business. You need a downline, right? Do you understand? So let this be your upline for a little while. I promise you it's smarter and will give you better advice than most of your uplines, okay? It knows what you need to do better than they do, right? You understand that? Trust your numbers. Everybody follow? Okay, so let's go look at one more example here. We got enough time to do so, I think. Okay? How do I get out of that? There it is. Okay, we're back to today. So let's go look at history. We'll look at another date in time. So we'll go and look at March. Okay. If you look at April 2nd, so the end of March numbers, Shane was number 1. He was at 49, right? Which was actually lower than the month before. Everybody follow that? Okay. And so you see where all these people are, which direction they went from the day before. So let's go look at, let's pick on Shane since Shane's here. Okay. So you can see how Shane's numbers were comprised. How did he get that? By hash marking a piece of paper with his schedule, right, like I showed you, and filling in the blank, okay? And you look at Shane's numbers, Shane's completion rate was up, but still below average, okay? His close rate went down that month and was below average. So here's another, Shane's a very hard worker, but has some inefficiency in his system, right? Does everybody see that? Okay. And so I want you to understand how that works. We can track meeting attendance. You can track the number of tickets sold to big events. You track anything and everything that you would want right here. You could literally go to somewhere you don't know and follow the process that this teaches you and get a business up and running. It is a business in a box, except it's not on a box. It's in a website, okay? But literally, that's your business system. This is your franchise operating system. You go to any other Primerica hierarchy, say, what do I need to do to win? They'll tell you a bunch of stuff, but there's nothing like this. Okay, do you understand? Everybody have an understanding of this. You were going to say something, I think. But maybe you forgot. Okay.
Can I ask Shane a question?
Sure.
Shane, you had 16 personal KTs. Were those from your BNIs? Where those people come from?
No, all over, out and about, prospecting, all over.
Yeah, it's just some total of all different things. Okay? So the process, right, okay, we got to understand the numbers, right, okay? We got to stay consistent with the process, right? And then the core is that dream, right? The core is that dream. So I just want to sell you that dream for a little bit, because the fact is, if you don't have one, you don't need this, right? When you don't know where you're going, any path will do, okay? And so you got to have a big dream if you want to go through and succeed full time here, because it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard because you're not very good at some things yet that you need to be good at. Because there was no class in school called How to Persuade People to do what you'd like them to do and is good for them. Any of you take that class, right? Okay? No, none. Like how to follow through when you don't feel good and want to wimp out and be a baby, but do it anyways. Any of you take that class? No, okay? Right, so there weren't any classes in like actually winning in life. There was Pythagorean theorem and all these things that don't matter in the real world, right? So I just want to sell you the dream a little bit. So today's my 13th wedding anniversary. Thank you. She couldn't keep her hands off me, man. I had to like, see, I gotta cool down, right? Okay. But listen, here's a couple morals of the story. Right, most of you'd skip the meeting to be at your anniversary, which is why I'm where I'm at and you where you at. Okay, so that's number one. Sorry for hurting your feelings there. Okay, but instead of, we're like, oh, I gotta have it on this day. So we celebrated our anniversary yesterday because there wasn't a meeting yesterday. Right? Okay, does that make sense? Because I come to the meetings because it's part of the system, which I would like to work for me, right? So instead of shortcutting the system or deciding around it, I just make it work, which, by the way, is part of the freedom of being a full-timer. Well, I can't. It's my little cousin's birthday party. Listen, why don't you schedule your birthday party at 11 a.m. on a Thursday and see how many of your deadbeat relatives go to that one, right? Okay? They're going to be like, I can't come. I got to work. Well, guess what? You can't come on Tuesday and Friday because you got to work. Any questions, right? You see how simple that is, right? So this is where I spent most of the day yesterday, right? So Jess said, I know, look at those feet. Some of you weirdo with feet and stuff, so I don't want to hear any of your comments after that. Like, Brock, let me get a sneak. No, I promise, okay? But listen, y'all. So Jess is like, what do you want to do for our anniversary? I'm like, I don't care, do whatever you want. Right, do whatever you want. So we racked up a $1,300 spa bill yesterday at Motor City Casino. And I had all sorts of weird crap, like I didn't even know you could do, right? So like, I was getting scrubbed by this like Himalayan lime salt for an hour. I'm like, all right, I think you got all the dead skin now, and any skin that might die in the near future, I think you got that too. But I was so soft. I mean, I was like, whoa, this is magic. This is crazy. Right, so I did that, and then I had a 2-hour hot bamboo stick massage. It was, I mean, do any of you ever have them foam rollers, you know, you do for the IT band?
Yeah.
Imagine that, but with hot bamboo stick, right, okay? Or like, I mean, it was weird, right? They were like kneading you. I was like the dough, they were rolling me. Like, right? I'm like, no, not the IT bands, no more, right? Okay, but it was fantastic. Then we had lunch poolside by our own little private pool. It was quite big, it wasn't little. Okay, and took a little nap on these cabanas there for a little while, and then we went back, and then I had my very own facial. I know you can't tell, right? Like, probably that was the worst facial anybody ever did, right? Okay, but I mean, that was bizarre, right? They put like all these different things on you, and sat there, and you did like a massage of the hair. So then we went down, we got, we went to Detroit Water and Ice Company. Any of you ever been there? Okay, you got to go to that, right? Okay, they got the Detroit Mash. I don't even know what this crap is. It's some sort of weird space whipped cream thing. I mean, it's real good, right? And we went down there and then we drove up to Capitol Grill for dinner. Had dinner. They have 10-ounce filet on the menu, but I had them supersize me. I'm like, y'all do supersize here? So they went back and had the chef actually cut out a 14-ounce filet. All right. I didn't even know what it cost. It was a lot though, because the bill was like $200 for the both of us. So we didn't even drink anything because we don't drink, right? And then I went home and searched for a lost dog. And I found it, right? Okay.
Yay!
Yeah, it was fantastic, right? But I just want you to think about like how cool would it be for you to on your anniversary just tell your spouse, say like literally whatever you want to do, you just figure it out, tell me, and we'll do it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And I want you to think about this. I'm going to share with you a couple things. Like, what are you waiting on to make your move, to make the change, or pursue your dream? What are you waiting on? Some of you, by the effort you put out and the consistency to the system that you've exhibited, the answer would be something. You're waiting on something. What is that thing, right? Because the time waits for nobody, right? Don't kid yourself. There will never be a better time than when.
No.
When?
Now.
When?
Now.
There will never be a better time than now. Folks, you're not going to be any younger tomorrow than you are today. Not going to have any more days to live tomorrow than you have today, right? Do it now. Do it now, not then, right? You gain nothing by waiting. Well, I just got to wait for the time to be right. No, you don't. Time's never going to be right. When work cools down, work's not going to cool down. When family settles down, it's not going to settle down. You need to do it when? Now. You need to do it now, right? You gain nothing by waiting. If you're not careful, you will spend your whole life waiting to begin. How many people you know like that? They're always waiting for everything to be right. It's just not going to be right. So here's the question I have for you. Economically, I'm not talking about your families and different things like that. I'm talking about economically, so freedom of money and quality of time, right? Freedom of time. Most everybody in here would trade places with me if you could. If you could have $1 million a year in residual income versus what you have now, how many would choose that?
Yeah.
Great, okay? And so if you could do whatever you want every day and never have to be anywhere forever for an unlimited amount of time into the future versus what you have now for control of your time, how many of you would choose that? Okay? So you would all trade places, right? Okay? You would all trade places with me if you could. And so right here, this is where that trade happens, right? So you think you would trade places until you got to do what I did to get there, right? Does that make sense? And that makes you a gambler, right? I'll put in a little bit and want that. I want that result. I just don't want the work associated with the result, right? Does that make sense? Okay, but we're never going to get there. You got to sell out to the process for the process to work. If you shortcut the process, you do not allow the process to produce the results. Do the kids at McDonald's make McDonald's work, or does the process make McDonald's work?
Process.
Why? How can you tell? Fire them all tomorrow, put a bunch of new kids in there, McDonald's still going to be there. Yes or yes?
Yes.
You're not better than the process. Let me say that again. You are not better than the process. Neither am I. Okay, you understand? Why, Coach, why are you such a maniac about being at the meetings, having the 1,000-person names list? Because you can't beat it. And I know if you don't plug into it, you won't win. Long range. Maybe you'll win for a little while on talent, but you won't win long range because your people ain't as talented as you. Most of them. Right? Does that make sense? The franchise business system says what? You need to have a lowest common denominator approach where very low skilled people can run the business. That's what this is. How much skill you need to fill in the blank, Chris? Not much, right? What about make the hash marks on the page? Not much. Okay, if you can do that and read and follow the arrow, right, okay, then you can find your own answers. Does that make sense? Why don't we grow up from living in a world where everybody tells us the answer to finding our own answer to our own problem, right? Taking ownership of our own life, okay? So this is where the trade happens, okay? And Chris A. Chong, one of my buddies, posted this. He's a $700,000 earner. He said, what would you go through to get, well, I said this to his thing, okay? So what would you go through to get to your dream? Question mark. Okay? And if the answer isn't absolutely anything, you don't have a dream, you have a wish. And understand the difference. Because listen, wishes might come true at Disneyland, but not in Detroit. Okay? Dreams come true, but not wishes very often. Do you see that difference? Okay, so what's going to stop you from getting to your dream? What are you going to let knock you off? I don't feel like it today. Somebody said no, canceled an appointment, got a chargeback, your guy quit. You got Tigers tickets. What's it going to be to get you to throw in the towel on the system? Because once you throw in the towel on the system stops working for you. Because you stopped working it. That makes sense? System works for 100% of the people that work it and 0% of the people who don't. Okay? So then you move a 70% win rate to a 4% win rate. And I think the numbers are worse than that here. I'm still looking for the 4%, Nate, that said, hey, screw the system in one big. Manesh, you seen them? Where's those 4? Right? I don't think there is, right? I think the win rate is 0 outside of the system. So he said this, how bad do you want it? Okay, he said, I used to cry myself to sleep. That's how bad I wanted my RVP contract. I would wake up scared every day thinking, what if I fail? But I went after it anyway. I decided to have no life until I created a real life. That's the most powerful line here, right? That's the sacrifice of the good for the great. Folks, listen, if I told you you had to come here and bust your butt 7 days a week for the rest of your life, you should get up and leave. Because you don't need to do that here, right? You need to bust your butt for 7 days a week till you get some habits and some people. Then you can go to 6, right? And you bust that till you got even better habits and even better people and more of them. And then you can go to 5, right? And do that till you got what? Even better habits and more people. And then you can go to, which ain't ever going to happen at your job. Then you can go to
3,
and then to
2,
and then you go to 1. Which day of the week you want to come in? And then one day, when you have enough winners and leaders, you go to 0. And you say, hey, I'm going to go wherever I want. Whenever I want. Right? Jess and I are looking at our travel schedule for the fall. If you want to go down to Florida this week or that week. I don't care. Let's just figure it out when we get there. Our family thinks we're crazy, right? Like, when are you coming home? We don't know. What do you mean you don't know? Well, I don't have to be anywhere. Right? Nobody's waiting on me. Like, you better get back here. You're fired, right? Nobody ever told that to me. Right? It's like, what do you mean you don't know when you're coming home? Just want to stay a few extra days. Right? Who cares? Change the plane tickets. Well, it's like $1,000. And? Right? What? I wanted to do that, so that's what I did. Right? Does that make sense? I'm building this house. And I'm like, that needs to be a door wall. Like, well, you already ordered the windows. I'm like, and? It's going to be $5,000. Okay. And they look at their block covers like, I guess it's a door wall. Right? That's the sort of life you can have. He said, I wasn't going to have a life till I had a real life. I despise all broke people, fun, and habits. I never played with anyone unless they was going in my direction. I still feel and can remember the struggle. It really hurted sometimes. Don't you love this guy's grammar? $700,000 a year earner. Some of you driving Bugatti like the punctuation. Right, the punctuation. Okay? It really hurted sometimes. I fell in love with the grind, and it became easier because the small wins made me hold on. How bad do you want it? That's the dream. What are you fighting for? Right? It feels good to be in control of your time, guys. It feels good to have all the money in the world that you could know what to do with and then some. That feels good. And don't let anybody tell you it's not. I almost got up out of an appointment today at about 5:30 after the guy told me, listen, it's just not about the money for me. But I need some money. But it's just really not about the money. But I'll need some money when I'm older. But you got to understand, it's just not about that. I'm like, I'm going to throw up on you if you say that. Right? Because, like, literally, you just tell me it's not about the money, but I really need the money. So, yeah, you just okay having this, but if somebody had take that away, then it's about the money for you. That's what you're saying. So it's about the money for you and everybody else, right? You just got bad thinking about the money, right? So you can't help nobody but you. So that's cool, right? But we just don't have any business together if that's how you think, okay? So I posted this the other day, and I think it's a good thing to close on today, okay? Some people are just born for it. It's like electricity striking them when they see it. I couldn't sleep for 3 days when I found this. I didn't know the first thing about it, but I felt something, right? I'm like, this is it. This is what I've been waiting for my whole life. I couldn't turn my mind off. I would sit in bed in that teeny little yellow room y'all saw in the condo video, right? In that teeny little yellow room, and I think I could talk to this guy, I could talk to this guy. I mean, my mind just raced for days when I saw it. Some people are just born for it. It's like electricity hits them. Some of you are like that in this room. You know this is what you're supposed to do, right? Others are grinds with insatiable wills to win. It doesn't come easy to them. They pay for every ounce of their success with blood, sweat, tears, and sheer determination. Which one are you? Are you the born for it or are you the grind? Okay? But see, either way, it doesn't matter because greatness is waiting for you here. That's what I love about it, right? You could be born for it or you could just be a grind. Either way, you're going to win here if you follow the system. If you have the franchise business system and you treat that with the respect it is owed. Folks, your success is assured to you. Whether you are born for it natural or the success going to be paid for every ounce of the way, either way you're still going to win. Why? Because it's not about the person. It's just not. It's about the system. It's not about the person. It's about the system. You understand? Have I been less than clear to anybody about the importance of the system? Right? That is what has built this business. That existed in my mind, those docs, years before we ever put them down somewhere. Okay? And you've got to come out of your mind and into a process that other people can follow. Does anybody have questions on anything we've gone over about full-time, getting ready to be full-time, and following the process and following the system? Okay, good. So I'm going to give you a couple of resources I want you all to go get. Okay? Number one is the 1,000-person names list by our friend Nate Braley. Okay? On SoundCloud. Okay? The 1,000-person contact list is what it's actually called. You won't find it searching 1,000-person names list. 1,000-person contact list. Why? Because there's 3 variables in our business. The amount of appointments you set, your rolling what? 7. Okay? Your complete rate and your... These 2 don't matter without this one, do they?
No.
If you ain't seeing people, you don't have anybody to close. You can't be upset when nobody reschedules it because you didn't set any appointments, right? Okay, so if you want to set a bunch of appointments, you better have a big inventory. Number one thing you need to do is go get and listen to the 1,000-person names list. You said, Coach, I listened to it. You got 1,000 people on your names list? No? Then listen again. Do again. Listen and do. Second thing I want you to get is the Full-Timers Boot Camp audio on SoundCloud. Just search Ian Pruckner, Full-Timers Boot Camp. There's a 2-hour and 48-minute one on there. So 2 hours and 48 minutes, that's a long one. I thought you said you wanted to win. Right. I didn't know your life's goal was to conserve the amount of time you listen to SoundCloud audios. Right? Like, man, I'm really winning now. I've gotten my SoundCloud consumption down to the bare minimum. Watch my smoke. I never heard somebody attribute their lack of listening to leadership development material to their great success, right? Okay? So go and listen to the Full-Timers Boot Camp. Okay, because that details exactly how to sustain that 1,000-person names list and take it to another level. It also talks some about the docs. Okay? Third thing is you got to be fighting to get on the part-timers call if you're not already. How many of our part-timers callers do we have in here? Raise your hand, loud and proud. Okay? Listen, you got to have commitment and a dream. You got to do the work, right? Okay? And if you're not invited to that yet, it's because you haven't done this yet. Let's just be honest. Not because nobody likes you. It's because you haven't shown that you're willing to do the work yet. Okay? So you better get after it. Set 2 a day, every single day. Start your process and start tracking it. Start, even if you got to do it by hand, like a dadgum abacus, start tracking the things that we track. How many did you set? How many did you go on? How many did you close? And if you didn't close, why? Why? They said this, they said that. You watch that for a month, you realize you're getting stumped on the same 3 things over and over. So where do you need to get better? Those 3 things. All right, everybody, thanks for joining me tonight. Have a fantastic evening. Let's go kick some butt.